Hello everyone and welcome to week 4 of Christmas Tag Tuesday. This week Chelsey and Julie Carrier are both joining in and we are featuring the Holiday Express stamp and thin cuts, and you can see here it's all about this gorgeous little train, and the tag that I'm going to be creating today is a little bit interactive, so there are some steps to it that I'm going to walk you through as I create this on camera. I'm going to bring in some other supplies as we go ahead. It's not all about the train. You can see I've gone ahead and I've already cut my tags. I'm using the all-purpose tags that are in the current core catalogue, and you can see there's a wide variety of shapes here. This set comes on a very large magnetic sheet, so I've actually cut that in half so that I can put it into this envelope here to fit with my storage. I have 2 fridge bins on my desk that hold the current thin cuts and the current stamp sets from the core catalogue and the seasonal catalogue, so that they are within easy reach when I'm crafting. You can see I've already pre-cut these. I'm going to use the large circle. I've got this little element here that I'm going to do as a little bit of a swing tag, and I've also got these little tag feature elements here that are all ready to go. And I've also gone ahead and I've cut a stitched circle. This circle is roughly 2.5 inches. So if you have a 2.5 inch circle in your set, I think it fits quite nicely within this circle die cut. So I'm just going to put these aside for now and we're going to get on with the colouring. You can see I've got some Prismacolour coloured pencils here, but I wanted to give you a quick little demo on how I colour with coloured pencils. I have got 3 different shades of red here, so it's almost like the tri-blend markers with the 3 different shades. But to colour on Kraft, I find the Prismacolour works quite well, and also the Polychromo colour pencils work well. My only problem is I only have 12 of those, so I don't have a good range of colours. I've only got 1 red, and I wanted to bring in some light and shade to these. So I'm going to start off. You can see I've done some colouring already in advance. I didn't want you to have to sit there and watch me do all of this for every single image, because the same method applies to all of the carriages and even the smaller icons here. So I'm going in with my darkest colour first, and I'm going around the bottom section of the train. I'm not pushing too heavily, but I'm also going to put some dark along the underside of this top part of the train here, because there would be a little shadow along there, and I'm also going to do the same underneath the roof as well. Generally, I do colour with coloured pencils in circular motions, but when there's a small area here, it's easier just to draw a line. And then just like how I use the tri-blend markers, I'm now going over top to blend the next lightest colour of red that I've used. They all have numbers on the actual pencil, and I'll have the list to all the numbers that I've used down below in the description, along with links to all of the products that I've used with the thin cuts and so on and so forth. And then I'm going to come in with my lightest of the reds and brighten it up a little bit, and you can see I'm going totally over the top of all the areas. It helps to have a fairly sharp pencil to do this, especially when you want to get into the smaller sections. And you can see that's blending back quite nicely. And by going over the top, it sort of helps with all the shading and brings all the colours together. So you still get a little bit of depth while you're colouring. And then I'm just going to come back in with my darkest one again, just to deepen these areas slightly. And then with my lightest once again, just to blend it out. So I haven't pressed terribly hard, and I quite like colouring this sort of an image because the areas are quite confined. It doesn't take long to colour that section. And then I'm going to continue with the dark along the base area of the train here. And this is where you want a nice point on your pencil. This one could probably do with sharpening just a little bit. I'm just doing all the little pieces that I want to be red first. I'm going to do the same thing with the funnel here and use the same 3 colours and go ahead and highlight this section here with the lightest so it gives a sort of a round look to it. Now I'm just going to sharpen this. I've just got a Staedtler sharpener because now I want to come in, and I've got quite a good point on this. I'm hoping I'm keeping my head out of the way for this. Now for this section, I'm only coming in with the brightest of the reds. It's very hard to put a whole lot of shading on a small area. And then I'm also going to add a little bit of colour to the top parts of these pipes here. I want them to be red as well. And now I have a white pencil to do these other sections here. And then I'm adding a little bit of the white. So this is like a little candy cane stripe. I've done exactly the same thing on the North Pole sign and along the bases of the other parts of the carriage for the train set. And the white picks up really nicely on the Kraft. It adds just a nice detail. For the wheels, I'm coming in with a black pencil. I'm just going around the outside areas. I'm just going to do one of these wheels for you on camera, and then I'll do the rest off camera because it's the same sort of treatment. I've got a fairly dark grey as well that I'm just blending into the black. And then I've got a lighter grey just to give a bit of highlight to the wheel. And then I'm going to come back in with the darker grey and just very lightly go over the top of that so that there's a little bit of a highlight. And I'm going to give the same treatment to give this a little bit of a rounded look for these parts of the train as well. So you can see I'm blending the lighter grey, or the darkest grey I should say, over top of the black. And don't worry about losing too much definition where those little dotted details are for the train, because as I said, I've stamped this in my MISTI so I can come back in and stamp over top to bring out those details a bit more. But I did want a little bit of light and shade to these parts of the engine. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just starting first up with my lightest grey, and then I'm going to bring the darker grey over top. And just by mixing the 2 colours of the pencils, it just gives a little bit more of dimension than if you just coloured it with one colour. And then I'm going to go ahead and colour in these parts where the spokes are with the darkest grey and then the lighter grey as well. So this one I'm just using circular motions to go over the top here. Now I've got a silver pencil here, and that's going to finish off the metallic pieces that I've decided that I want to be a little bit shinier. So I'm using that on the funnel pieces here, and I'm also going to use that on the inside sections of the wheels. So that's our train all done, nicely coloured and ready to cut out. If you wanted to blend this a little bit more, you could use a colourless or a blending pencil. The thing that you have to remember when you've been blending, especially with something like a red, you will get the red on here. So before you go to use this again, you need to rub that off on a piece of paper if you're bringing it in with another colour. And you can see that I've got 2 pieces already cut here, and that's going to help with the interactive part of this and make everything look nice and neat for the tag. Turn my mat over and bring in my MISTI, and you can see I've got all the stamps set up here. This was my original stamping onto here, but I'm going to go over top of this to make it a little bit blacker, especially where there are some details that have been lost with the white pencil. Now I've just used VersaFine Onyx Black for this, but you could use Intense Black. And I'm just going to make sure that that is firmly in place. And now that I've inked that up, I can go over top and make my lines just that little bit blacker. And then I can go ahead and cut all of these pieces out in one go because I've left them all together. And just in case you didn't realise, with the Close to My Heart stamp sets that have thin cuts and actually even standalone thin cuts as well, they all come with a magnetic carrier sheet, which is fabulous. You don't have to get your own. And they also all come with a stamping foam. So if you don't have a Versamat, which I really can't live without, where you can turn it over and use the spongy side, you've got a sponge in here already for you to do your stamping with. So now I'm going to do some stamping on the actual tag elements. I've got my base layer for the tag with red glitter, and I've got my stitched circle that the train is going to sit on. And when I turn that over, it's not a nice crisp white. So I've cut another tag with white daisy, so I've got a nice crisp white for the back. And I'm going to stamp on this using the Stampin' Thin Cuts Admit 1. This comes with a lot of little lovely sentiments that will fit onto the ticket here. I'll get that out so you can see it. I'm not actually using it for this tag, but you can see with the die, it cuts all the way around the outside, gives you this lovely ticket shape, and then it perforates down this section here. So you get a stitch detail coming down this section of the ticket. So that's really, really cute. And I love all of the sentiments and everything that's in this. So all of these will actually fit onto this ticket here. So you can dress this up. When you're looking at our Stampin' Thin Cut set, anything that is shaded means that there is a thin cut or a die cut with it. So you can see all these blue shadings here means that there is a corresponding thin cut that matches that element. So I'm going to do some stars around the outside of this tag, and you can see it's in a straight line here, but I've curved it on my block so that it will go around the edge of this tag. And I'm hoping that I don't get my head in the way when I do this, because I really do need to be over this a little bit to see what I'm doing. But I'm going to start on this edge. Actually, I'm going to go back to front so that I can see the edge here a little bit clearer. So I'm going to start here, and then I'm going to stamp all the way around. I'm using Scarlet ink, and then I'm just not pressing too hard. I'm not using the spongy side because I don't want these images to smoosh out too much. So a firmer surface is fine, especially when you're using a delicate stamp. And then I'm going to come all the way around, and you can see that's going to go over top. So I'm just going to do a quick little bit of masking with some washi tape, so that I can stamp to there and take that off. And I've got my stars going all the way around the outside, and I think that's a really gorgeous little detail to add to a tag. I'm also going to bring in, I wanted to keep this. This is from the From Me to You special that's currently running. You can get this all on its own, or you can order it as part of a set. There are 3 in the set for Funny. And I'm just going to ink up my To and my From. And what I could do if I was just making this a regular tag, I could stamp the Honestly I Really Wanted to Keep This for Myself on that side and use it just as a simple single tag. So I'm basically doing all the prep work for this, and then we'll get to the assembly of the interactive element very, very soon. So there's this very small little Merry Christmas that is in the train set. I'm just going to stamp that on this little carriage here. I've got this little tag here that I'm going to stamp December 25th. That's from this Admit 1. So I did a little practice with this. This will just fit on this little tag. So I'm going to bring in the little circle that I've got, and I've got the train to put on top of that, and I want to stamp something across the bottom here. So I've picked this little line element. I'm going to use my Versamat to help me line things up, hopefully. It's a bit harder to do when I can't put my head all the way over. So it's a little bit down, but that's okay. I don't think the recipient's going to notice if things aren't totally lined up. So now all that's left for me to do is adhere this together, and then I'm going to put my train carriage together. So I'm bringing in a 1/2 inch strip of Kraft. I'm just going to put these things aside in my tray here so I don't lose them while I'm doing this construction. And I'm going to turn this over and adhere this little strip to the back of each section. Line that up with the wheels on my Versamat. Then I'm going to line this up with my Versamat as well, so that I get this nice and straight. And then I need to adhere this section, a little bit more adhesive. I'm going fairly close, and then this one here with a little bit more adhesive as well. So you can see I've got these smaller wheels all lined up together. And then I can turn this over and take away that section. And you're probably looking at it thinking, well, that's not quite going to fit on the tag. The reason why we have put this all along is because this is going to be our base. And then I'm going to fold this part back, and I'm just going to burnish this. And then my train is going to fold back this way, the engine. And I haven't measured this at all. I've just assembled it. I'm just pushing that together. And then I can burnish this part as well. And that is going to sit on top of the tracks here. And so that this doesn't stay up like this, I've got a little trick for that. There are some gift card tabs that are in the core catalogue. So these are quite clever. They actually only cut this section here. You can see the semicircle. So what I'm going to do is work out where I want this to go. I'm going to put that down around halfway. And this is why I love my Versamat so much, because I can see that there is an inch marking here and an inch marking here, and now I have this fairly centered. And I'm just going to put some washi tape on that so that it doesn't move, and run this through my die cutting machine. If you're using a CTMH die cutting machine, you want to decrease the pressure quite a lot, because you don't want these edge bits to show as an indentation. So you can see that's put a little tab there already to hold things in place a little bit for when I put this together. Usually I would use liquid glass for this, but I've actually run out of it. So I'm just going to use this Barely Art glue. It's quite strong, and I want to make sure that I don't put any glue over this tab area. So that's getting adhered to the front of the tag, and then I can just use regular adhesive for the back of the tag and just line that up. And I'm just going to put a block on that to dry for the moment, and I'm just going to use that same glue because I want it to be nice and strongly adhered to the tag for the caboose of the train. Make sure I get it around the right way. I can close it up a little bit as a guide, because I'm just looking underneath here so you can see this isn't going to interfere with this mechanism here. And to finish this off nice and neatly, I've gone ahead and I've just die cut extra pieces of the train. There's not an image stamped on it. It's just to make things look a bit neater on the back in case somebody turns it over and has a look, because you don't want to see this part of the mechanism. So I'm just making sure that I get this around the right way. But I've also got some little gifts to tuck in here as well, and I should have done that before I adhered it to the tag. So I'm just bringing my scalpel knife here. Actually, I'm going to take this one off for the moment, because I just want to cut through this top section, and then I'll be able to hide that part that's going to be tucked underneath this part here. So you can see that by tucking it in here, that will hide this Kraft section here on both of them where the die cuts go around the outside. So I've just put a little line of glue along that. I'm going to tuck in my gifts. And this glue dries clear, so it doesn't really matter if I've got a little bit on the top there. And then to hide all of this, I can adhere these two pieces. I've got my gifts that I'm adhering to the back of the gifts here. And I've applied some extra adhesive to this train section so that I can put this over top, and that gives a nice neat finish on the back. And if you wanted to write some little words in here, you could. So then you've got a fun concertina train with a little interactive element. And then when I close that over, I can tuck this part of the train underneath here to keep it somewhat closed. So now I need to finish off my tag with the little tag toppers. I'm going to do the one on the back first. Just get my tweezers out. I'm going to line that up, and I'm going to finish this off with the red glitter as well. So adhering to glitter, you can use liquid glass, or the Barely Art glue does work. I just need to order myself a new bottle of liquid glass. So I'm just going to give that time to set. So I'm just going to come up from the bottom and grab the twine and pull that through. Just move that out of the way so I can grab the twine to pull it through to the front. And then I'm just going to pull on that to get it at about halfway. There we go. And tie a little knot for this. And now that I've knotted that, I'm just going to create a little bow. I'm just fussing with that little bow. So I'm just going to trim that off so that they're the same length. So now I'm just adding a couple of little details to my train with the white gel pen. It does work over the top of the coloured pencils. I'm going to flip that out and you can see the difference that that makes from putting just a little bit of white gel pen onto this train element, the engine, compared to these other sections here. So I'm just going to keep doing that. If the ink doesn't flow, just rub it on your hand like that and then you'll get that working again. But it just adds just that right little touch to your train elements. I'm just putting a couple of little white bits to make it look like windows, the glass in the windows. And then I think what I will do is add some little dots to these gifts, just a couple of them, just to brighten those up a little bit. The white gel pen, I think, makes a really lovely difference to the stamped elements with the colouring. It just gives a little bit more movement to them, I think. So I quite love how this looks. When the recipient gets this, they'll know that they can pull that out and get the whole train image. It's just so much fun to have an interactive tag element. It's only a small amount of space. We don't often do interactive elements on tags, and I think it makes a lovely addition to a gift to have something that can be pulled out and looked at, and then you can write a little secret message behind here, and having a little layered tag with this part here works really well. So here's my completed little train tag. On the back, I've actually put the North Pole and the little gift there just to dress the back part up of it as well. I love how the stars look all stamped around in a curve on the back side of this tag. The little December 25th just finishes off this tag topper really, really nicely. And then the twine will go like this, so it's ready to adhere to the gift. And to keep this all nice and flat, I have put a little tiny bit of the dot roller on the back side of the train so that it just gently holds that together. If you don't push too hard, it won't be ultra permanent. So that's just there to keep everything all nice and flat, because I have used this several times. So as long as you do this a few times, it will remain tacky, but it will easily come up so that you can then unfold the rest of the train. And I think that's a gorgeous surprise for whoever gets this tag. So this week you will get triple the inspiration on how to use the Holiday Express train on tags from Julie, Chelsey and myself. Make sure that you click on the links below. I've loved bringing this to you this week. This was such a fun project to work on. Thank you so much for watching. Can't wait to see you for next week for week 5 of Christmas Tag Tuesday. Happy crafting and bye for now.